Let's go for a drive. I'm in this place at the moment where I am trying to balance the content that I want to make and the views that content is getting currently. It's a difficult balance, right? Because sometimes I make content that I really love and it doesn't get the views that I had hoped for. Now, does that mean that content was not worth making? Because, of course, I love the content. If I had made the content and hadn't put it out, would I have still loved it? Absolutely. And I think this is the problem with, I view what I do as an art form, right? I view it as art. I know sometimes that is hard to balance in your mind, that a video about a guy walking around a forest or a video about talking about a game or your first reaction to a game or review of a game could be art. But I genuinely believe that's what it is. I put a lot of myself into what I do. And when you, as a creative, when you put that stuff out into the world and it doesn't get the views that you want it to get, that has an impact on you. It's like a part of your soul is being battered. It's like a part of your soul is being eaten away at. And when you really think about it, it shouldn't matter. When you make something, when you really put the effort into making a piece of content, it shouldn't matter how many people view that, because it's the process that you're supposed to love. And I do love the process. In fact, I love the process more than the publication sometimes, because that's where all the joy is to be had. On the other side of it, where it's all like, how many views did I get? There's only joy to be had if you got a lot of views. And I don't want to sound ungrateful here. You know, 50, 100 people watching my content on YouTube, or 1,000 people watching my content on TikTok. I should be happy with that. I should be happy with that. And I think sometimes social media and comparing yourself to other people puts you in a position where you always think you're lesser. Even with videos that have got a lot of views for me, I look at them and go, yeah, that video got a lot of views, but that wasn't a fulfilling piece of content for me. It was a throwaway piece of content. I talk about this a lot, but the video about the dad and daughter Amsterdam story, that's my most viewed video. 2.7 million views, I think it's on now. Am I proud of that piece of content? No, of course I'm not. I mean, it was just a throwaway bit of content. So this is the balance, right? That piece of content that was a throwaway piece of content, I was so happy that it got so many views, but I couldn't put that in front of someone. If I was to put a portfolio of my favourite pieces of content together, that probably wouldn't be in there if I excluded numbers. So what is it that I really want? Because it's not just the numbers. I don't want pure numbers where I'm just producing content that I don't really love in order to get views. And I don't, on the other side, when I produce content that I really love, I also don't want it to go unseen. And I basically have to get to a place where I am making content that I think is great, and then hoping that resonates with people, hoping that it finds its audience. But I've also got to do the work on the other side, right? I've got to do the work where I'm saying, what do I need to do to get this in front of more people? I can't just depend on this, algorithm or platform or whatever to put me in front of the right people. That they are a tool that can enable that, but I need to be able to actually do work to get in front of more people. And I feel like I am doing that. Don't get me wrong, I feel like I am doing that, but it's just this difficulty. And I was talking to my dad yesterday, and I was talking about this feeling of going, that I've produced content, but there is a part of me that's kind of eaten away by the fact that it's not being seen by more people. And I suppose I'm talking more about, you know, the long form content here, the stuff where I'm exposing something of myself in a completely platonic and non-sexual way. I'm exposing something of like my soul to people. I'm trying to be vulnerable, and you know, when more people don't see that, it feels personal. And he said to me that, you know, when he watches these videos that I'm doing now, like the Charm Diaries videos, believe it or not, my dad's not a huge gamer. So he doesn't, I don't send him much of the gaming stuff, but I always send him this stuff. He said, it feels like I'm on the path to authenticity. You know, the honesty and authenticity are rare. So when you witness people being authentic, when you witness people being truly honest, you know, there's something to be said about that outside of the views. And he talked about some of the work that he did. My dad is a creative. He talked about some of the work that he'd done, and you know, there are people who said to him, this piece of work that you've done is the best piece of work you've ever done. And on the other side, he's saying, well, you know, nobody's bought that. Nobody's, you know, not huge amounts of people that have seen this piece of work. So it's funny that you say that it's my best piece of work when nobody's seen it. And I think this is the point, right? It's the work will do what it needs to do. The art will do what it needs to do. The videos will be seen by the people that they need to be seen by at the time that they need to be seen by. And I think part of what I'm doing, right, is I'm going through my apprenticeship here. One of the difficulties with social media, one of the difficulties with my work existing in the format that it does, in the place that it does, is that you have this expectation of accelerated results. You have this expectation that things are gonna pick up quicker than in any other industry at any other time. Like when I did stand-up comedy many moons ago, I had no expectation that that would yield any results in a very short period of time, because I understood completely that there was an apprenticeship that you had to go through there. Almost all of the comedians that you see on TV, and I don't just know this from, you know, this isn't just an opinion. This is, I've met famous comedians, I've met people, I've seen people on TV that I did gigs with, you know, 10 years ago. Most of the people that you see on TV feel like they're overnight successes. They feel like they've come out of nowhere. But in 99.9% of cases, those guys have been doing open mic nights, been doing circuit comedy for years, you know, 10 years, 10 years before they even get a chance to be on a TV screen. And then even when they get on the TV screen, nothing is guaranteed. You know, there's only one Ramesh Ranganathan who's on every program ever created. There's only one of those guys at a time, really. For the most part, most of the comedians are still jobbing comedians, and you know, I'm sure Ramesh is still touring and doing all of those things, but you know, I think even he would say himself, he's had this incredible streak of television work that is propelled him potentially further than he originally thought he was going to go. So when I was doing comedy, I thought about it in terms of decades. You know, when I first started out, it wasn't like, will I be on telly in a year? It was like, oh, where will I be in 5 years or 10 years? And I'm sure that could have been accelerated, but that would have always been a wonderful surprise for that to be accelerated, not for, you know, not an expectation. Whereas with social media, I'm like, you know, 6 months in, I'm like, well, why aren't I fucking a massive success yet with millions of followers? Why aren't I earning hundreds of thousands of pounds? Why are thousands of people not viewing my content every hour? And I think I'm just like, what is my expectation of myself? This is 6 months in. If I compare my content now to my content a year ago or 6 months ago, is it better? Yes. Is the stuff I'm talking about more impactful, more valuable? Yes. Am I still figuring stuff out and figuring out who I am and what my voice is? Absolutely, 100% yes. That's going to take time. That takes me sitting in front of the camera. That takes me talking every day. It takes me streaming every day. It takes me creating content every day. I'm actually feeling more comfortable with this kind of content, the YouTube content, than I am with content on other platforms at the moment. I feel like I've slightly lost my way with the short form content, because there's a bit of a split between this kind of content and that kind of content where I'm doing, you know, gaming news stuff. I'm like trying to think, what is my niche? Like, what is my angle when it comes to the gaming stuff? You know, I'm not the best gamer on the planet, never will be, don't aim to be that. That's not what I'm looking to do. You know, I think I can do the presenting stuff quite well. I think I can do the gaming news stuff quite well. But I've got to find that angle and find that voice for that. I felt like it clicked maybe a month or so ago, when I had a couple of days off and I came back and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to talk honestly about this stuff. I'm not just going to report on the facts, but I'm going to talk about like what my opinion is, what I think about it. And I think that will take time to really come into its own, because I'm so new to gaming. Part of it is me learning that industry more thoroughly. But like the podcast on here and the diaries on here, which have been consistent for a little bit now, I feel very comfortable in that space. I feel much more grounded in that space, and I feel like the content is valuable. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get across here is that authenticity is rare, and vulnerability is rare, and honesty is rare. And that is what I am aiming to do across all of my content, but specifically something that, you know, I've discovered through this content is that I want to do all of those things. So I'll say this again because I said it in the last video, but know that this is never a complaint. I'm never complaining about where I am or what I'm doing. I'm just being honest about what it feels like day to day to do this kind of content.